Illovo is Africa's biggest sugar producer with a market cap of 12.3 billion rand. It has extensive agricultural and manufacturing operations in 6 African countries and produces raw and refined sugar for the European Union and the US. Illovo is 51.5% owned by Associated British Foods and has a price to earnings ratio of 22. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Paul, let's start off with you. Sugar, tickle your fancy at all?
Yeah, look, we're talking about farming stocks today. We're talking about stuff that you have to depend on the weather in order to extract a profit from. Very interesting business model, Illovo and Tongaat, we'll talk about in a minute, which was that they realized that to get preferential access to the European Union, you needed to grow your sugar in countries which are viewed as the poorest of the poor, the most favored of the most favored, so that you could export the stuff in.
Yeah.
You can't produce sugar in South Africa and sell it to the European Union because South Africa is too rich, but if it's coming from Mozambique, then you're good. If it's coming from Malawi, even better.
Yeah, and
so
I
they've
mean,
all been expanding their operations, and that's why Associated British Foods, a British food conglomerate, bought in there. Look, it's fine. It follows the oil price because, you know, you can convert sugar wastes into ethanol, and that's a big issue and industry in Brazil. So that is kind of an underpin. As long as crude oil prices are going up, then sugar prices will be going high. So it's all good. The problem is it's up and down depending on the rainfall and all sorts of externalities like that, but unreliable, but generally not a bad company.
Okay, but I mean, for Tepo, and I can really tell you that he's not going to like it. And Tepo, would you tell me why you wouldn't? It's got a PE of?
There you go, PE of over 20.
Something you wouldn't even look at. Even if it had a PE over 10, you wouldn't be looking at this. But, you know, diversified, great export markets. I mean, Illovo, looking from an operational perspective, it's a strong company.
I'd agree with what much of Paul said. You'd expect earnings to be highly cyclical in line with the weather, and we've seen over the last couple of years they've had some years of absolute whopper in terms of earnings and some difficult years. So I think it's important when you're looking at these businesses to apply the same sort of principle that you apply to a commodity play of sorts. So you're probably looking at through the cycle as opposed to just single trailing 1 year PE, but through the cycle this looks a bit rich for us as well. So great business. We like the story, we like the theme, but it looks a little bit rich.
Okay, I mean, operating in Malawi and Zambia as well, and 2 economies, as you were saying, poorest of the poor is what the US and EU looking at. I mean, these economies are growing though, Paul, and they're looking very strong.
Yes, and the demand for sugar is strong out of places like India, where apparently they consume the largest amount of candy sweets of anyone on the planet, which is interesting. Look, in 1935, American sugar was one of the Dow constituents. The point I'm trying to get to here is there was a time in human history where making sugar was like at the forefront of technology, and it was like the most exciting industry in the world with the biggest margins. And that is no longer the case. For the market to be excited about a share, it needs to offer the prospect of regularly increasing profits. So you can go to a country like Malawi and make sugar, and that sounds fabulous, and it's all going to be good because there's all this virgin land and the rain comes down often in Central Africa, etc., etc. Lots to like, but they need to deliver, and the problem is that in recent years they've had droughts in the KZN area and so on and so forth. I mean, it's one of the stocks I've looked at, but in the last 5 years, it's been between like 15 Rand a share and 35. It's kind of hovering at around 26 now, not really doing anything. I suppose the Brits might buy the balance of the company. That's a possibility. But for the rest, I think if you're a long-term holder and you kind of like the agri story, it's one of the preferred entries to the market.
Is the ethanol play for you in the least exciting as well? I mean, Paul was talking about sustained growth and earnings going forward. That could be the big unknown. And we'll talk about Tongaat in, later in the program. But cogeneration is a very big element for Tongaat. Do you think that, that could create a bit of excitement within the sugar space?
Look, I think it's a decent underpin. It's a nice diversifier to the sugar theme. So could it provide some excitement going forward? Definitely could. Nothing much more to add.
Okay, so hot or not for you then, Tepo?
Look, at valuations where they currently are, I'd be looking elsewhere, so not hot for us.
So if it was at a PE of 8, would you be looking at it?
I would definitely be looking at this.
I don't care about the PE. I'm guessing that the market thinks that 3 rands a share or something like that are going to come based on the trends in the interims and so on. For me, it's the hottest of the stocks in the sector we're going to talk about tonight, but probably not hot enough to get the stamp of approval here.